Hi everybody, it's Christopher and welcome to Life's Not Over, It Just Looks Different on YouTube. I'm getting over a bit of a sinus cold that kept me from doing a video last week, but I'm here and I've got a couple of things I want to talk about today, mostly related to navigation and sidewalks. The first thing I want to talk about is e-scooters on sidewalks. Now, I've talked about e-scooters before, and in many cities they are becoming a thing. And there's a lot of debate in pretty much every city about whether or not they should be allowed to ride on sidewalks or not. Here in our city, they've decided that they don't want them on the busy streets, and if there aren't bike paths, they do allow them on the sidewalk. And to be honest, when I've been out and walking around, if a scooter is moving, I haven't had a problem. The people seem to be good at navigating around, and I haven't had any run-ins with anybody on a moving scooter. The problem comes when they get parked and or improperly parked, or should we just say disposed of? Let me give you a couple of examples. These pictures here that I've got, this first one was in front of an LRT station that I frequent when I go to the gym, and I actually literally stumbled over this one because I was looking up the steps and didn't see it and literally tripped over this scooter. After taking this photo, I did pick it up and move it out of harm's way, although I didn't get a picture of that. Then later that same week, I ran into this scooter. Now, I didn't physically run into it. This one, even though it was sort of in the path of travel, I didn't trip over this one, but I then also moved it and took a picture of it, sent both pictures to the scooter company saying, here, this was where it was left, this is what I did. And then an hour later, after coming out of the gym, walking back down the same path, this scooter was in the way. And again, moved it, took a picture of it. So what I'm trying to get at here is this message is not so much for the scooter companies. It's not their fault that people are not using their devices properly. For you folks, anybody who's watching this who are users of these scooters, please take the time and care to move them out of harm's way. If you put them where I did, like in these pictures where I moved them off, this is what is called the furniture zone. It's where things like mailboxes, recycling boxes, lamp posts, all that kind of stuff, they are put into what the city calls a furniture zone, where all of those things are going to be. So it's best to move the scooters to those areas and put them over there where they are out of the main path of travel. These other ones that were parked, yeah, they're not fully in the path of travel, but they are in the path of travel if somebody is using a white cane and sort of using it to feel the edge of that sidewalk. So it is in their path of travel. So that's what I'm getting at. Like, they might think that they parked those properly, but they really didn't. It's better to put them over here in that furniture zone and out of the way. Now, while we're on the topic of sidewalks, I also want to talk about a lack of sidewalks. And this is another thing that happens in this city where I live. Now, don't get me wrong, I love living in the city of Calgary. It is a fantastic city, has lots of green spaces, beautiful place, and great vibe. But occasionally, when I'm walking, there are times when I'm walking along and everything is good, and suddenly there's no sidewalk, like you'll see in this video. On this particular day, it happened to be a beautiful, bright, sunny day to do this walk, and I had never taken this path before. I saw it on my phone that it showed that it was a pretty easy walkable distance to the doctor's office, so I decided to go this route, and suddenly came upon this bus stop in my way, and no sidewalk after that. The thing about that video is that after I had walked that distance and ended up at that bus stop where the sidewalk ended, I later realized, that day I walked on the grass and kept walking, and then I rejoined the sidewalk a short distance forward. What I didn't know at the time, and if you go back and you look at this photo here, where you'll see that there's two paths. There's the sidewalk that leads over to the bus stop, that's where I kept walking, and then there's this bike path that goes off to the right. That bike path actually goes around and comes back and rejoins the sidewalk a short distance later. So I didn't know that at the time when I walked and met that bus stop and then walked on the grass until I rejoined it later, and then I kind of looked back and realized, oh wow, okay, that's the way to do that. So now anytime I'm in that part of the city, I know to take that bike path to get around. But I didn't know that at the time. And this is my point for city planners and anybody else who is designing these things, is that was not intuitive to somebody with sight loss. I'm partially sighted and it wasn't intuitive to me. It's going to be even less intuitive to somebody who is completely blind and doesn't know that that other path was going off to the right. So let's think about this a little bit more, and let's, I'm hoping that from this people will understand that, people who are designing these pathways and sidewalks and doing city planning, let's keep the sidewalks nice and consistent and going in the same direction, because when we suddenly come to the end of it, maybe the sidewalk is across the street. Like in this photo, again, I was walking down this sidewalk and the sidewalk just suddenly ends just before the bus gate there. And if you look across in the photo, yes, there is a sidewalk on the other side of the street, but at the time I didn't know I needed that. So it wasn't until I come to the end of it that I started looking around with my partial sight and realized, oh, okay, the sidewalk is across the way. So I crossed the street and was able to keep going. But again, that was not intuitive at the time until I was sort of faced with that situation. So this idea of sidewalks, going happily along and then suddenly stopping, not the best practice. The main thing I'm trying to share in today's video for people who are blind or partially sighted is that really all we ask for is a clear and consistent path of travel so that we can get safely from point A to point B without any tripping hazards or sudden interruptions to our path that are not intuitive to what happens next. That's everything I wanted to share in today's video. I want to thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate each and every one of you who watches these videos, who has clicked like down below or subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much for doing so, and I hope you have a wonderful day.